as we welcome Tom into the program. Tom, we'll start with this Arkansas baseball team. So we had Matt text in earlier. South Carolina, it's their baseball program has 2 national championships. They've been to 6 national titles, and they have a lot of regional tickets that are open for sale right now. Tom, Arkansas fans have already started camping out for this regional. What does this say? What does that say about this fan base and the dedication they have towards this Arkansas baseball program?
Yeah, it's a different. They're at a different point than South Carolina. Arkansas fans are very, very hungry. They got a really good taste of the Omaha with back-to-back appearances in 18 and 19, and then last year's team that still had Kerstad and Martin on it got derailed by the pandemic. And now, since Arkansas has been number one for so long this season, and they just haven't been beaten on any weekend, the fans are super, super hungry to close this thing out and try to win a national championship. And who can blame them? We've all been cooped up for so long, and now during the spring we've been getting out more and more. And Arkansas did a kind of a stair-step deal with their attendance that brought it from in the 4,000s right on all the way up now to full capacity, 11,000 plus. And they like a winner, and they've got one right now, because this is a very, very fun team. It has so many different components that make them interesting to track.
Tom, one of the questions that I asked Tyler Spoon, former Razorback, who's on that 2015 College World Series team yesterday, was, Tyler, do you feel like there's more pressure on this team in 2021 than there was on your team in 2015 that at one point didn't look like they were going to make postseason? He said no. I don't necessarily agree with him fully. I thought he gave us a lot of stuff, but I was kind of against him on that. Tom, do you think there's more pressure on this Arkansas baseball team that's projected to win the whole thing than some of the other Dave's teams in the past?
Yeah, well, obviously, that's very, very hard to measure. Yeah, the 2015 team went over to Oklahoma State, and I covered that regional and beat their ace. I mean, big, tall left-hander, and had a couple of good innings against him in Game 2 there, and that kind of sent them on their way. This team, everybody's gunning for them, but they've been doing that all year. And, this weekend, they're not going to run up against a team that's been, that's as good as a Vanderbilt or as good as a Tennessee, but you still have to beat them. And the thing that you worry about with them is running up against maybe back-to-back left-handers, 2 different teams in Omaha, or, that's the thing you worry about. They might have to beat somebody's left-handed ace that throws high in the zone, good velocity, and they could get beat. So their pitching which has been fascinating to track how they've dealt with their starters and their relief all year. If they can have guys like Connor Noland and Heston Toll and Ryan Costew, the middle guys, Caden Monk, get them deeper into games, and you can use Kevin Kopps less. Oh, what could that translate to if you get to Omaha? We, as the people who cover the team and the fans, can think about those things. They have to think about beating NJIT, Nebraska, and Northeastern over the weekend, and then move on to the next round.
Talking with Tom Murphy here on the Morning Rush. Tom, shifting the conversation to football, Brandon Burlsworth, Dan Hampton, up for the 2022 College Football Hall of Fame. Now, it's a little odd to me that Dan's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame and not in the college, but I know he looked like a more successful pro career than college. That's not to diminish what he did in college. It's just statistics. Do you think Brandon Burlsworth gets in 2022?
When you look at that ballot, it's just there's 78 names on there, and there's Heisman Trophy winners.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Rashawn Salam, what he did at Colorado, I guess it was in 90, was phenomenal work. And so you're up against, Josh Heupel's on the ballot. He finished second in Heisman voting.
I think Reggie Bush is on there too.
Reggie Bush, you have to give his Heisman back. He's on there. There's some great talent. And even though Brandon Burlsworth is kind of almost like a cottage industry into itself because he has a trophy named after him, I'm not sure if his accomplishments in college will stack up that he can make the ballot this year. But it's almost like, there's an identity about him. People know when they vote, oh yeah, that's the guy who is the walk-on, who became an All-American, who has an award named after him. So there's a chance that could help boost his candidacy. Dan Hampton had a fine college career on a great Arkansas team that went down there and upset Oklahoma in that Orange Bowl. And, I mean, that is their claim to fame. Dan Hampton did that in college and played on a Chicago team. I interviewed him over the last spring for our series on the top 10 Arkansas pros of all time. He was second behind Lance Allworth, and he's a dynamo. He plays in a rock band. He's got his own media deal up in Chicago. He's something else. I would think he's got a pretty strong candidacy, but that ballot is just loaded with I don't know how many they limit it to, but when the College Football Hall of Fame adds people every year, it is some premier talent.
Yeah, he's hysterical is what I've heard. I've never had the personal conversation with him, but I've been told he's fantastic.
Oh yeah, he is fantastic. He said that when he got to college, he wasn't that big, and he said, I wanted to be a show pony. And so he's talking about all the big talent that was on campus, and he wanted to be one of those show ponies. He is hysterical.
Tom, other big news that came out yesterday besides the Hall of Fame ballot for 2022, college basketball news. Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, is retiring after this season. Now, John Shire is going to be named his replacement. When you look at the landscape of college basketball, how significant has Mike Krzyzewski's role been a part of the game?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, Duke was a household name before he got there. They had been to the Final Four in the late 70s. I can't remember the exact year, but when he took over, it went next level. And then the respect that he's spawned throughout the industry has been something different. I mean, they've been to so many Final Fours, won national championships, had so much talent come through there, and even in recent years, adapted to the kind of one-and-done deal that so many other colleges were doing kind of before they did. But it's been a long, long, long run for Mike Krzyzewski, and, he aged pretty well. And he's leaving behind a massive legacy that, I don't know, does it eclipse Dean Smith in the ACC? Perhaps so. It was that good.
And you think about this coming off the Roy Williams retirement, so the ACC landscape is going to look a lot different following this season. But what's wild to me, as we close you down here, Tom, Arkansas's got a winning record against Coach K. You think about they lose in the Final Four in Denver in 90, but they followed up with the win that next season still in 90 in Madison Square Garden, if I remember correctly, and then they win the national championship in 94. Tom, there's not many teams out there that say they have a winning record against Coach K.
No, there's not very many at all, and it's a small sample size, and if Arkansas had been in the same conference with the Blue Devils, it might have been a different deal. But, hey, when they got to the national stage, when they played those big games against them, Arkansas showed up, and who knows? I mean, Arkansas might be in a renaissance stage that lasts for a long time, and that's what's so exciting if you're a Razorback fan right now is that there's kind of a changing landscape, and Kentucky didn't have a very good year. Where are they going to be? Maybe Arkansas can go back up to the top of the SEC and stay there for a while.
Yeah, and Jenkins and I, and we're discussing this a little bit earlier, Thomas, to let you go. I'd love to see just one last hurrah, see a game between Duke and Arkansas, whether in a tournament. I know they're playing that College Classic later on, or a non-conference game, heck, even the NCAA tournament. I think a lot of Arkansas and even Duke fans would pay money to see Duke and Arkansas go at it again.
No doubt about it. And as Arkansas, if they stay in the national dialogue, then games like versus Duke and North Carolina, I mean, they played North Carolina several times in recent years, but you know what I mean? The Blue Blood, play Villanova here and there, play UCLA, those types of games will be more common because you're carrying that national name, and you have a brand, and you're attractive to those big tournaments.
Tom, we always love having you on Thursday, buddy. Appreciate your time. We went over a variety of topics this morning. We'll do more of a baseball recap on Monday.
Sounds great, y'all. Have a great weekend.
Good stuff from our guy, Tom Murphy.